everyone. Welcome to week 4 of xAPI. Can't believe it's week 4. We're only going to be here for 12 weeks, but this is week 4, and we're going to be talking about leveraging xAPI in StoryLine for EHR system assessments with Daniel Russo with VUMC. Before we get started, I am just going to drop some things here. We now have DevLearn proposals are now open. I'm going to drop a link in the chat when I'm done speaking. It'll take you directly to where you would like to go for submitting a proposal. The submission deadline is coming up. And of course, Learning in HR Tech Solutions, April 23rd to the 25th in Orlando. You can register now. You're going to save $100 if you register by March 8th. So please consider doing that. It's going to be a great show. Lots of learning and development, lots of HR. It's a combination. It's a fabulous show. So make sure you have the opportunity to be there with us. Excuse me. So if you're not a member of the guild, you don't have to be part of xAPI. You can attend the entire cohort. However, we have some great stuff for you, and it's free. You just need to become a member. We have free webinars. We have discounts to our face-to-face conferences many a time, and we have all kinds of session recordings. And again, I will drop a link into the chat. Now, if this is your first time to cohort, because we know people join cohort during the 12 weeks. So if it's your first time, this is kind of how it is structured. We have these weekly live sessions, and then we form ourselves into project teams. And we do this because it's vendor neutral, and we have weekly emails with web session recordings. Now, if you need some help, I've gone over a few things, but if you need some help in Slack, that is our main communication tool outside of AirMeet, and I'll get into that in a little bit. There is a hashtag main. That's like the big channel. That's where you're going to maybe post a question and see if you need any help. That's what channel everyone has. If you have any questions about the cohort, emails, dates, having some issues, you can go ahead and message me either in Slack, or you can send me an email, or even private message me here in the AirMeet during the live session. So this is our Slack interface, our workspace. And as you can see, there are a number of project teams formed. So we have some program partners who are experts in xAPI, have done this a long time, and they're helping people along with some of the things that they've learned over the years, as well as give them projects. And they are listed in there, and you can look through Slack once you join, if you haven't joined, what they are. You can also create your own team. If you've got an idea, this is your first week here, and you go, hey, I want to do xAPI, I want to do it here, create your own team. If you need directions on how to do that, just email me and I'll send that to you. There's also discussion channels that we have in our Slack workspace. You can just join the discussion. You can participate, you can observe, you can listen in, however you want to take this cohort. Some people jump in with both feet. Some people say, hey, I'm gonna watch this one, and then next time they join cohort, they join product. If you need any more information, just contact me in Slack, or my name is Karen Gleason, or you can private message me here in AirMeet, or just shoot me an email. I'd be happy to help you. Just so you know, and as a kind of a refresher, we do have the lounge in AirMeet. There are tables there. You can meet with them 24/7 for the length of the cohort. If you're not in American time zones or North American time zones, you're in Europe and you're watching this as a recording, go ahead and log into AirMeet, and you can join a table and meet with your team there. You can create your table. And with that, I am going to turn things over to Daniel Russo with VUMC, and we're going to discuss leveraging xAPI in StoryLine for EHR system assessments. Over to you, Daniel. I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing, and you can go ahead and share your screen when you're ready.
All right. All right. Can you see the screen?
I
All
can
good?
see the screen. I'll be
Awesome.
off camera and off mic, but if anyone has any questions, we're here just in case.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Well, thank you for this opportunity to share some of the things I've been working on. I work for Vanderbilt Medical Center in Nashville, Tennessee, and we're going to be talking about how we have been using xAPI in conjunction with StoryLine for EHR system assessments. And EHR is electronic health records. So basically, that's when you go to the doctor and they're working on the computer, doing all the documentation, placing orders, anything like that. That's what I mean by EHR. Oh, I didn't really introduce myself on what I do there. I should have made a slide on that. Anyways, I'm an instructional designer and also a principal trainer for the EHR training team. And so we're in charge of developing all the trainings and e-learnings and anything else in conjunction with training both clinical and non-clinical people on the EHR systems. And currently we're on Epic. You may have heard of it. Most organizations use it, or healthcare organizations use it. All right, so the agenda. We're going to talk about the need, and then the plan to implement, and then some of the assessments, and then some of the results that we encountered. So some background on why this was a need. So COVID was basically the catalyst for Vanderbilt to start moving to online training. There was a massive shortage of nurses. A lot of people were out sick or just a lot of reasons. People chose not to come to work because of health reasons. They couldn't work at home because of somebody at home needing, with immune deficiencies, any of those reasons. There's many of them that people were not able to either come to work or they chose not to. So we had a huge hiring situation where we had to hire a bunch of travel nurses. Since Epic is so widely adopted as an EHR, many people did have experience already using the system, but we needed a way to evaluate that because currently we were having them go through 2 days of training. Well, that costs a lot of money. We were paying them anywhere between $120, $150 an hour as travel nurses. Have to have them up for 2 days, and we needed them on the floor right away. So we were looking for a way to accurately assess their proficiency in using Epic, so we could actually scale down the training to 4 hours, which is going to be much more Vanderbilt specific. I don't know why. Oh, the need. Okay, so the need. So like we mentioned there, the travel nurses, they come from the with an Epic EHR experience from other organizations. The current training was 2 days, an average of 8 hours, which about $2,000 for training these individuals. And we wanted to cut the training to something that's much more determined those that are proficient down to 4 hours, which would be about $500. So about $1,500 of nurse training cost and savings. Also, and yes, EHR is the same as EMR. Yes, Brian or William. Nurses, also the main goal was to get the nurses on the floor faster. I mentioned we need an accurate way to measure the performance, and the current assessment tools had flaws. And what I mean by that is Epic is such a complex system. There's many ways of utilizing it and getting to the places that and doing the things that you need to do. Multiple choice, which was our current assessments, weren't the best way. And also, how do you really know that they know how to do it just based on a multiple choice question? They're not really demonstrating true proficiency at that rate. So we were looking for ways of really trying to evaluate true performance. So like I mentioned, we had multiple choice. There was limited reporting. Didn't have the true knowledge of proficiency. So what we proposed to do was use AutoGrader, which is an in-system tool within Epic. What we can do is we can program it to actually look at the documentation or the actions that people were doing within system. So they were going through it, we give them scenarios, they'd work through those scenarios, and then we're able to evaluate their performance within Epic to see if they were actually doing what they say, what they could or could not do. And of course, they can't guess on this. It had to be done, and it didn't matter how they did it. Mentioning like there was different workflows that they're familiar with, or they just had a different way of getting to the place that they needed to get to and doing something that they needed to do, but as long as they could do it. Autograder, there were some issues with the online delivery, which drove us to xAPI, namely the multiple choice questions could be lost in submission. So the way Autograder works is that within Epic, they actually have to submit their results. And so typically people use paper, that a trainer has to take that piece of paper that has these choices recorded and manually enter those. Well, because this was all being done online, unless somebody was to submit those as an email, the trainer would actually have to take those and then manually enter those. Or we could have the users manually enter those, which is what we are currently doing as we guide them through the process of doing the submission. I'd show you those, but unfortunately, Epic is very protective of anything. We can't show any Epic screens or any Epic functionality outside of Epic. They're very protective of it. But some of the times when they're taking those exams, going through the process, and it's about a 2-hour assessment. When they hit submit within Epic, because the assessment's totally built within Epic outside of StoryLine, for the multiple choice, they would actually have to, or sometimes they get lost, and the proctor wouldn't know. The user would log out, leave sometimes, or just say, I submitted it, and those results would not be there. Well, given that some of those multiple choice questions, or given that the multiple choice questions were things that they were not documenting on, it was basically, patient review. Do they have certain allergies? Can you find that? Who's on their care team? All those things that are non-documented, documented that we could not assess with Autograder would be completely lost. And so we had, we're put in the predicament of having the person take the full 2-day class or retake the assessment, which of course costs time and money. And these assessments would take place later on in the day. And so we really needed to have those results right away. As you know, when it comes to the LMS, you can get the overall score, but you can't get what they actually answered. And so what we really wanted to do was have a way of capturing those answers that they were providing within the assessment. Also, we could not see what was going on with the users while they were taking the assessment. So they're all online, and sometimes these classes would have 20, 30 people in them and one proctor. And they would get them started, get them launched, and then off they go. Well, people don't always communicate the way they should. They could either be lost, or sometimes they would just drop out, and there was no way for us to see what was going on. And we'll talk about that as one of the results later on. That one of the beauties about xAPI is you can see in real time what the users are doing within the reporting. You might have to refresh the screen, but you can program it to say, hey, so-and-so started scenario 1, scenario 2, or has even finished the assessment, so you can expect the results. So those are some of the great things that Autograder would bring to us, and that's why we were looking at it. Or not Autograder, but xAPI. So why use it? As we mentioned, we could record the responsibles for multiple choice questions. And again, those are questions for finding patient information or anything that's not documented within the system that we couldn't use our Autograder system for. The proctor can see in real time via the LRS how the users are proceeding through the assessment. And we'd have this ability to record those multiple choice questions, not just for having to resubmit, but also for analytics later on. So we could actually look and see what people are missing. And of course, the records for those questions may not get lost. And so we don't have to worry about the users retaking it. I'm sorry if I'm speaking too quickly. Well, okay, so we have a question. We weren't using Articulate for the quizzes. And I'll show you an sample of the assessment coming up here. So I'll answer that. But we are using Articulate in conjunction with Captivate, or not Captivate, but Epic. And you'll see, I'll show you an example of that coming up. It'll be a little bit more clear. So the plan was to develop a prototype, create get a sample LRS, external LRS setup, and then build a statement library. And as you know, that's a challenge to learn xAPI. I'd never done xAPI before, but I knew it was a possible solution. And so I had to teach myself xAPI. And then we wanted to get into data visualization using that the reporting coming out, so we could actually get some meaningful data out of it. And then it goes into the data analysis that we could use for making recommendations for enhancing our curriculum, looking at the assessment, how effective it is, how long people are taking, whether or not they hit the forfeit button that we had built in, if it was too tough, all those kind of statistics. We also have them record how many months of experience they have using Epic, so we could correlate that on pass rates. And then once we got all that kind of built out, we would just use it over and over again, the same process. I'd have a template set up with the multiple choice questions with basic xAPI statements already set up, to where I just had to modify them specifically for that particular assessment. So that way we could branch out from just the travel nurses on their assessments into other areas. Some of the other things that we realized that we need to build out, we needed to have a structure and a file to where we could store all these. We were also using Power Automate for some of the built-in reporting, using it to parse out some of the information. We also had to have training and support materials, especially for the proctors. People have never used anything like this, never used an LRS, never looked at data like this. I had to have a way for issue reporting, so that way people can report back to me, since I'm not the proctor, I'm just a developer. If there's any problems, I created an autograder orientation, not just an autograder, but an xAPI autograder assessment orientation video for the proctors and the other trainers, so they could see what was going on. We also had a lot of workshops and other types of trainings just for them, to get them acclimated to it. I built a wiki and a professional learning community during teams to try to keep everybody, make a one-stop shop for everything that's related to these assessments. Then also was looking at still working on it, getting xAPI integrated into Power BI for better data visualization. So that way we can see what data is coming around further, coming through. Looking at, also been working on the analysis trainings. Those are some workshops that we've had, and also ones that are coming up, how to use the data to really look at the assessments and see what's going on, not just for learner analysis, but also for assessment analysis. What are the most common ones missed, and what are they answering? How then been able to go back and look at the assessments to see if there's any confusion in there. And that's happened. Those of you that work in the Epic area, the healthcare area, or even software, there's a lot of upgrades and things change. So if you're evaluating people's performance in a piece of software, and things have changed, that can affect the assessment, of course. And then, as a side note there, this is borrowed from one of the presentation or proposal slides that I was working on for the department, is that we're working on a chat bot too. So that way within Teams, so that way people can quickly find the answers, or the data quickly that's stored within Teams, all that good stuff. That leads me into building an autograder Teams channel. xAPI, like we were mentioning, is that it's very, as you know, we're getting into it. It's very complex. Learning record stores are different than an LMS. You can get a lot more out of them, but people don't know how to use them. So I created a whole AutoGrader Teams channel, since this is where xAPI is currently integrated. We are getting an LRS for the entire organization, actually. And so I'm building an xAPI channel as well, developing some trainings on how to use xAPI. But until we show them, people just don't know. And as you know, there's a lot of scattered information out there. It's hard to find it. We'll try to make a one-stop shop for everyone. But this AutoGraders channel, I have all sorts of material resources for them, how to find their scores, how to manually enter the multiple choice and true false questions if they need to, of course, how to report an issue, and then also how to access the LRS that we currently have set up until we get our department one. And so this also provides a way for them to talk and discuss what they're doing and the problems that they've had. So it's kind of a professional learner community. And then they can also support one another. And now, so I learn from them and what's going on. So that way I can continue to make enhancements and make the project better. So I think that socialization piece is really important, just so I'm not siloed and people don't get frustrated with it. I am really hoping that we get xAPI much more widely adopted. And sure enough, we are. More and more assessments we're converting to use xAPI for not just for in-user proficiency here, like in this case, but also for like after-class assessments, because it's really showing that its value in being able to, with the analysis aspects. So the question about the assessments. So the assessment is created in StoryLine. And so you can see here, I got it structured out. This is one of the scenarios, the reviewing the patient chart. This is non-documentation, but the documentation basically just has portions that don't have the xAPI. They're pretty much totally AutoGrader. The only xAPI they have is whether or not they started this scenario or finished the scenario, because we're evaluating their actual documentation using AutoGrader in Epic. As I mentioned, the AutoGrader has a major flaw when it comes to the multiple choice. We're not able to get that information out easily. And then, of course, with an LMS not reporting what they answered, we needed the solution. So the assessment here is created in StoryLine. It is the reason we're using StoryLine instead of Captivate, because it's very responsive. They're able to scrunch this off to the side, so you have Epic on one side of your screen open, and then you have this basically as a sidebar that you can navigate through, and it'll walk you through all the different scenarios and telling you what to do and asking you questions as you go through, and actually are in our training environments using Epic. So the xAPI here, of course, records their scores to the multiple choice, so we know what they've answered. And that is probably one of the most important things. And again, what we found extremely valuable was being able to see whether or not they have started the assessments, where they are in the scenarios, especially as there's a time limit, and they can check in with people if they're not seeing any activity. And so that's been really beneficial. The little bottom button with the exit door, that is a forfeit button that we integrated for those people that thought they knew more possibly than they did. And they get into it and they realize, I'm just going to cry uncle and I'll take the 8-hour class. And so that, of course, gets reported, and I use an xAPI as well, so that way we can see how many people have forfeited. And also the proctor can see in real time, oh, so-and-so forfeited it, so they can follow up with that person and see if they need any assistance in setting things up and, continuing their training so they can get on the floor. Any questions about how we use the assessments, though, before I move on? I already have I took that one out. And so basically the results. So using this, we have currently saved over $1.5 million, and just training the travel nurses alone. And of course, that when you're training 20, 30 people a day or a week and getting them on board, and you're saving, like we mentioned, $1,500 a piece, It adds up really, really quickly. And that's just for the training cost. That doesn't include cost of our savings and having those people on the floor quicker, um, or the cost of having them, paying the trainer to do the 2 hour or 2 day training instead of the 4 hour training, all those other supplementary costs. This is just the time saved from taking the assessment and the reduced time of training. So you could probably inflate that quite a bit more when it comes to it, because of course the big one is getting them on the floor that much quicker, a day and a half quicker, to where they can get out there, get them the Epic securities because they show the proficiency, so they can get out there, get on the floor, do their job, and we don't have to have somebody else out there be paid 2 nurses, one sitting in the classroom, and of course one on the floor covering for that person. So huge there. We were able to really get some good data from the learner performance metrics. And again, that really helped us use it, especially in particular for the assessment evaluation. We were able to we run these fairly often, especially after we have upgrades, because things have changed, and just see if there's any discrepancies in the user scores. Just a couple, it was the last upgrade we had, we ran it, and we were noticing that there was 2 questions that people repeatedly were missing, and they got about 50% on one answer, 50% on another answer. It's like, oh, obviously there's confusion. Went back into the system and looking at the assessment, and sure enough, the build had changed to where people could easily be confused. So we were able to modify the assessment and, of course, make it much more reflective and non-confusing. We're not trying to trick people. We're just trying to see how well they can do it. And then, because this has been so successful, as I mentioned, we're starting to really use this for many of our other stuff. That was the pilot. Now we're moving on beyond just end user proficiency. Now we're using it for end of class assessments. People on online classes now, it was hard enough in classroom. People just sit there, they do stuff, but you don't know if they're retaining anything or how effective the training was truly. So this is a way that we're starting to integrate into all of our end of class assessments, to where we can really look and determine end user proficiency. So that's going to be a big deal. They put it on here, but I mentioned the organization finally convinced them to get an LRS, which means that this is going to be much more widely adopted across the board to really be able to track, user actions within, excuse me, not just assessments, but also any of the training we have. Really excited to be here and learning from other people. I'm in a team right now with some other medical professionals, and as we've discussed, when it comes to upgrades, the way we distribute materials to train people on these upgrades, we distribute it, but we don't even know if they even viewed it, or if they watched a video. Aisha brings up those are all common problems within Epic. It's a small little world, and we all suffer the same fate. So being able to distribute the upgrade materials and actually know if people are actually viewing it and doing it is going to be a big deal, especially if we can actually track, if they're actually doing it. So when people complain that they didn't know about this or that, excuse me, especially managers, we can run reports and say, well, nobody in your department watched it or viewed the upgrade material. Excuse me. But that's pretty much how we use it in a nutshell. I didn't want to go into too much in detail with the statements, but I really wanted to show that in conjunction of using xAPI, we're getting much better data. We're able to make our assessments better, and it's really, really worked out well. So that's pretty much it. I know it's not the full 45 minutes, but any questions? Of course, we're in the middle of upgrade right now too. I don't know about those of you who are out there in Epic, that we're in the middle of upgrade. You know how fun that is.
Well, that's great. I mean, there were a lot of emoticons that came up, a lot of wows, a lot of celebrations. So I think there was. Let's see here. That's a question. Did you say it works with your LMS? Was a question.
No, so I actually had to do custom xAPI because our LMS will not take the storyline, built-in storyline, and record the learner. And of course, we need to know who the learner is. We can't use one of these stagnant uh, actors for it because we wouldn't know who it was. And so by recording, we need the individual learner name so they could go, oh, gee, Laura, you did this or you didn't do that. We can see where you're at.
Okay. And then
Yep.
I'm not sure if you answered this, but did you have to add additional xAPI statements, or did the statements that are built into StoryLine suffice? Sounds like it may not have. So your
No, that
information.
was no.
Yeah.
That's why I had to do the custom
Right.
because of
Right.
the actor reporting is just wasn't working, and even using it where you pull it from the LMS, our LMS will not talk to it. I know other people have success with that. And also, one of the things that kind of frustrates me playing around with it, though, too, is storyline. The verbs are so limited. It was just
Hmm.
easier for me, and also I could put in the extra descriptors much easier.
Yeah.
So I
There
actually
you
found the
go.
custom. It seems like a little bit more work, but once you get the base statement made, you just go through and you just edit as necessary. So it's not
Well,
that
and
bad.
you're saving over $1.5 million. So I think you're good there, right? Um,
Yeah, that
so
was that last count too. So it's ongoing.
yeah, it's ongoing. Um,
It's
now
just profit share.
oh, right. you you talked about Automate and Power BI for reporting. There was a would love to learn more about. I bet you that's a whole other session. But do you want to maybe touch on a few things?
Yeah, so that's something that really working on, and of course, I'm having to learn Power BI. You know how our resumes are anymore. It's not just instructional design and adult learning theory. It's learning how to use the reports and also be able to parse it out. And to be honest, that's something I'm still on the friend, at baby steps with. But what I'd really like for it to be able to do is you have the Teams channel there, have these reports within it where it's drawn from these reports, whether it's once we get our new LMS or LRS to where those new reports come in, you know, at a scheduled rate, and be able to have that stuff updated on a regular basis without having to manually do it. And so that's what I'm really looking forward to, is because of course people, we're not all Excel experts. Be able to create some nice data visualization, and not everybody has Tableau on the trading team, but we all have access to Power BI through Teams, and just be able to run a report and quickly be able to see trend lines and answers and question, all that good
Yeah.
stuff. Really going to be really exciting.
I have heard that many a time. I don't have Tableau. I'm not exactly an Excel, but I learned how to use Power BI and I was able to get some data and show it nicely. So I think that's a common thing. Someone asks, just curious, what LMS do you have?
Well, we started off just using GrassBlade because we were, yeah, we saved over 1.5 million, but you know how it is with organizations. It was a 2-year struggle to get the LRS that we're using. We're going to use it yet analytics, to be honest, and a lot of it's because of cost restraints. It's yeah, it was one of those things where it was like, uh, well, this is the phrase I like to use. Everybody's from Missouri, as my mom would say. She's from Missouri. It's a show me state. And when I started talking about using xAPI, I was like, oh, that's great. I needed a solution that was affordable and easy to use, that we could do what I wanted to do, that was not also controlled to where that wasn't open, so open to everyone else, because of course we have employees in there, employee data. But I needed to be able to show them. And until they actually saw, I create all the PowerPoints I want, diagramming it all out. I created some really good PowerPoints talking about all the benefits. But until you actually show them with a working model, they don't get it.
There you go. There you go. So, another question about the custom xAPI statements. Is there a way to automate that since every button answer needs its own statement? Is
Every
there a
action
way?
needs its own statement, as far as
Yeah.
I can tell, unless somebody else knows something I don't.
Okay. So I guess that's would be something to
Yeah,
work
every
on.
click needs to have its own JavaScript action. That way,
Okay.
otherwise, there's no way to designate it from the others. Yeah, it'd be great to be able to have that process automated, but there might be a way if you wanted to play around with use running a script. Actually, that'd be interesting.
Mhm.
If you created an Excel spreadsheet and
Okay.
you had it you could possibly have it to where you could run a script that would automatically populate all the statements for each of the actions that you wanted. But I think that'd actually be more work than I just go through. If I got the multiple choice slide there, copy
Yeah.
the statement, go to the next choice, and just go change choice A to choice B. I mean,
Okay.
it's just one letter,
Yeah, yeah,
so
that's true. So, well, let's see. Someone asked now, what would be some ways, but show me, right? What would
yeah.
be some ways to help people unfamiliar with xAPI to that wow moment and what it can provide? So I'm guessing you're going to respond with, well, I'll show them this result, but do you have any other comments on that? What
How
would be
does
the wow moment?
I think it's once they actually start hearing, especially from other people that have used it. I mean, they're already everybody else is hearing from the other trainers that started off with the nursing because the trainers are really struggling, especially everything moving to online. Like I
Yeah.
was mentioning, how do you get some responses and understand that it's meaningful? Because everybody's concerned about it. I just gave this 6-hour online class. How do I know my learners really do it? Really know it? And once again, not everything's suitable. We could use AutoGrader for in-system stuff within Epic, but not everything's suitable or documented within there. There's still questions you want to ask that were covered in class at the multiple choice, and that's really where it comes through. Or people are actually looking at having online exercise books now. How do you know what people are clicking? We're also doing some trainings on, or some, working with one person. We're using StoryLine and using hotspots. Like, what icon do you click for this or that? How do you know what they're doing, right? Whereas you just don't know. And once again, this data is important to know what they're doing instead of just right or wrong. I mean, what did they click? Where's the
Mm-hmm.
miscommunication?
Mm-hmm. All right. So, well, I'm not. Did Epic have native xAPI support?
No, it does not. No,
Okay. All
no. Epic
right.
is its own beast, and yeah, you have to have something on the outside.
All right.
I
So,
wish it did.
thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
We really appreciated that, Daniel. It was great, great presentation. Thank you so much. So, I have Meg Fairchild. I brought her to the stage. Your sound is a little staticky, Meg, but she's going to give us an update on her team.
All
So, Meg,
right. You can hear me.
yep,
Great. I thought I had my camera on. Ah, you can
there you
see
are.
me.
Yes.
Okay, great. Just wanted to give a quick update on the team for Team Test Your LMS with Torrance Learning. We have been, we met once, we had a kickoff meeting this Tuesday, and nope. I posted the link to the recording of our kickoff meeting in our channel. So if you are interested in joining a team, you haven't joined one yet, or you're interested in testing your LMS to see how well it plays with xAPI, and what sort of data you can get out of your LMS, we'd love to have you join us. We're going to be operating asynchronously, so that you can watch that kickoff meeting to get you started, and then that'll get you caught up. And over the next couple of weeks, everybody's sort of doing their own tests and reporting out to the group of what they find. And then from there, it'll just be, we'll get back together again in a few weeks. So right now we've got, I think one person has completed their tests and given us some results. We actually completed one of them while we were on our meeting the other day. So that is good to know. Unfortunately, that particular LMS, it was like, well, you can't even launch the course.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yes, sometimes that won't work, but in that case, it doesn't mean you're out of luck, because you can still publish your StoryLine course for SCORM or any other tool. Publish it for SCORM and have it be sending those xAPI statements to an external LRS. So yeah, we're just starting that process of getting as much data as we can about as many LMSs as we can. So
That is great. And Meg is part of the team with Torrance Learning, and they're one of our program partners. And so they're updating us. And I do have two other updates. Unfortunately, the people couldn't be here. And one is from a Team Spring Learning Dojo with Jeff Batt. And he says that his team is working on the script and videos for the interactive video. And once they have the script, they will identify spots for xAPI tracking. So that is exciting. So if you are interested in interactive video, tracking that with xAPI, you would want to join Team Spring 2024 with Learning Dojo. And we also have an update from another program, a partner, and that is Team KPI Measurement Spring 2024. It's with Jason Haig, and I think Meg Fairchild is on that team too. I'm not sure. But they kicked off last Friday. It's meeting again tomorrow, and anyone is welcome to come join the group. They are just getting started with exercises around defining the KPIs. And tomorrow, they're all going to be going over their team homework and share their ideas. So they'll be aligning with what they want to measure and then think through the xAPI statement requirements. So right there, if you are into thinking about how do I have this information. What do I want to do? How am I going to craft those xAPI statements? That is with Team KPI Measurement Spring 2024. So as you can see, we had one person from a team get on the live session here and give us an update. I was emailed or slacked a couple of the updates from other members of teams who couldn't make it. We would rather, if you can make it to the live session and give us an update towards the end of the session, like I just did, we would love for you to do that. I know it's only week 4, and some of you may be still forming teams. Some of you may already be digging in, but let us know. Say, hey, we just met. We're going to do this and we're going to do that, because there may be somebody here during the live session who hasn't joined a team or is like, wow, that sounds interesting. I think I'm going to join that team, because that's what cohort's all about. It's all about learning together. It's all about sharing, and it's never too late to join cohort. And you can join and jump right in and get your get right into the nitty gritty of everything. You can observe, you can just listen in. It's whatever it is for you. I am so glad that we have a number of project teams, and I hope to see a lot of great work with you over the next couple of weeks. So next week, if you're part of a team or you create a team this week, make sure you post the team description, hashtag team, whatever it is, and put that in hashtag main in Slack and give people a little idea of what your project is, so you get visibility and you get people who join you. And then if you would like to give me just a quick update like you saw Meg did, or just a couple sentences like I read for Learning Dojo and the KPI team, please just think of it and come here and just say, hey, here's our couple sentences. This is what we're doing. With that, I encourage you to go and join your teams. Have a great week, everyone. We're at time. I don't want to say, everybody, have a good week, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.